Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel and to our van build series. Today we're going to be talking about our windows installation.
So we actually bought 4 windows from Camper Van HQ. They are AM auto windows, so they do open. They have book screens and all that good stuff. We were very excited to start on this for the van.
We'd love to share our experiences, but before we get started, I just want to mention that I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so my voice is a little bit nasally.
A little bit nasally. Talk like this.
So we did decide to do all 4 windows at once. We drilled pellet holes where the windows were going to be so that we can actually insert the jigsaw blade into it and have an entry and exit point.
Now it's time to actually cut the holes. And so it was actually pretty straightforward. We had already done the max air fan and the AC, so this is just a larger panel to cut out. Still works the same.
Something to note is that the corners were actually pretty tight. So we actually saw this tip from another YouTuber, which we'll link his video below. He suggested to take off the base plate of the jigsaw, and that actually helped quite a bit.
Just take your time, get around those corners.
We did start from the bottom and then leave the top to be the very last portion to cut.
The other thing too is as soon as you're getting ready to end the cut, there's just a small amount of metal still holding there. It wants to wobble and vibrate quite a bit. So Chrissy actually went on the outside of the van, kind of held it steady so I can finish that cut. Yeah, we had our first window cut out. So now it's just time to do that 3 more times.
We would suggest getting multiple packs of the blades because we did damage and bent quite a few of them.
It's a tough thing to figure out how fast or slow to go, but you can't go slow. That's how you'll bend the blade. So if you're kind of nervous and you're getting ready to take that corner and boom, it catches the metal, and that's how we bent the blade. Another tip I did want to share too as well that helped is we got some extra long blades, and I forgot we actually had these until after we finished cutting the first window. But that makes it a ton easier too, because when you get to the corners, you can just kind of back the jigsaw and you still have this super long blade, and that'll allow you to kind of turn that corner a little easier as well too. So then after we got all the windows cut out, it's cleanup time. Metal shavings are everywhere. You really can't avoid it. There's no magical box or plastic or anything that you can put down. They just get everywhere. They're all over our faces.
Honestly, it's so important to wear your PPE while you're doing this, especially your safety goggles, because the metal shavings are just flying at you. It felt like little hot specks of sand that someone kept throwing at me. I had to actually close my eyes because I was just so close to where it was being cut that I had to hold on to the actual sheet.
Luckily, we did bring the shop back and we were able to vacuum everything out. I think we probably spent 15 minutes vacuuming, trying to get all of the metal shavings out because you don't want no rust issues. So once we got all the metal shavings cleaned up, we used an angle grinder, and essentially we just went around the entire cutout of the window, just make sure that there were no points, no sharp edges that are going to snag anything. On the angle grinder, I believe it was either a 40 or a 60 grit. You're not really trying to take off a bunch of metal, just kind of even everything out. And once we did that, then it's time to paint all that exposed metal. We had some black Rust-Oleum paint foam brushes that we used, and we just made sure all the exposed metal was coated, and that was day 1. So we came back the next day, we were ready to install the windows. So we actually started with scuffing up around the windows. So we did use a maroon Scotch-Brite pad just to create some texture there for the primer and the glue for the windows.
We did wet a rag with alcohol and clean up the edges.
Yep, now it's time for the fun part, installing the windows. So we had actually pre-purchased these suction cups from Amazon, and we'll leave the link down below to those because they were actually very, very helpful.
Super helpful.
With making sure that you don't get the glue all over your hands. We pulled a window out and we actually applied the suction cups before we applied the adhesive to make it easier to transition from the table to the actual van.
He did all the heavy lifting. He brought the window over to where the cutout was. I was on the inside of the van and actually used a pencil and marked where the cutout was. And this was very helpful because once you have the actual actual window laying on your table, you can see where you should apply that bead of sealant.
Once you get to some of the corners, that line was very, very close to the clear part of the window. You want to take a wide turn with that adhesive so that you don't get any squeeze out, and you'll be looking at that the entire time you're in your van. So the line was helpful. We applied the adhesive. Oh my goodness. We had a couple of scares because I assumed that one can would take care of one window. I know there's a lot that goes into that, how fast you're going, how much adhesive is coming out and all that good stuff. We would get to the very end and that was it. So I was running to get another can, get that opened up and finish out that bead.
Pretty much every window almost needed an extra little bit from the next ones. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to note was that I'm not sure if this is a Campervan HQ thing, but they did send the tips for the adhesive. And so it has a little cut line. There's this little notch that you cut out. And essentially what that does is when you're applying the adhesive, that notch is leaving a very pointed, sharp edge on the top of the adhesive. And what that's for is when you actually press the window to the van, it makes really good contact.
We highly, highly suggest getting the battery operated caulking gun because you want that sealant to be a smooth line. And so if you're constantly trying to manually press it, it's going to come out in spurts and it's not going to be a very consistent.
Time to attach the window.
So we have to be very careful not to touch the sealant. We went over to where the cutout was. Your technique was like align it to where the cutout was and kind of just press it down.
I was trying to get a corner set where I felt like it was going to be. We wouldn't have to like move it to try to get it into place. Yeah, it worked out really good. Definitely it's a two-person job. Maybe you could handle it with one person, but a ton easier with two people. So once we got it pressed up there, we pressed it into place. We got the tape on there and we actually did use the automotive window tape that you get. I think it is a lot stickier than just regular painter's tape, but we did get that. So, and then it was time to tap, 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 tap. Not sure where we heard that from, but apparently if you tap the window, it helps the adhesive to kind of adhere better.
So sure. We did it.
We did it. It didn't hurt anything. Yeah.
We didn't say why the tape is important. Tape is actually really good to help keep it from sliding down because of gravity.
So we got the first window in, it's set, taped up, good to go, and now finish up the rest of the windows. So that's what we did.
Wash, rinse.
Wash, rinse, and repeat.
Wash, rinse, and repeat.
For 3 more windows.
The other ones will go by much faster just because now you have the experience of doing one, you know the process, and it'll just kind of go by a lot quicker.
They turned out great. They look good. You know, even with the tape on there, such a drastic difference in what the van looks like.
So much more light, get a cross breeze. I'm not in a cave anymore.
So we actually left it for a few days to cure, came back, and it was time to water test.
So after removing all of the tape, we drove to a little water station and went to town as if it was a thunderstorm.
Luckily for us, there were no leaks.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, essentially after that, we took some shots and just marveled in what we had just done. Still in a lot of disbelief that we actually cut these giant holes in the van and installed windows.
Yeah. The first one was kind of scary because you're cutting this big hole and I hope it fits and I hope we got the right window size. Then you start going in the motion and it just becomes almost like second nature muscle memory from doing the first one. Would highly recommend this upgrade.
Yeah, don't be scared. Don't be scared. They'll be all right. Well, thank you very much for checking this out. We really do appreciate you all. Please take a moment to subscribe. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, leave it in the comment section below. We'll be sure to try to get those answered for you. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Peace.
The thing is going like this. The tripod.
Yeah, I know, but the camera's level.
That's so weird.
That's what I was saying yesterday. I don't know why it's like that.